our daily routine came to an end. Sound manifested and dissolved into emptiness. And then in the result practice excellence, it says you have to see everything as a fantasy. Matrix. Now, who is kidding who? It's amazing. It really is. You see, in this fantasy world, matrix world, world of samsara, this world experience does get title conventional reality, you know. Sometimes you call it relative truth, conventional truth. Actually, correct terminology will be fantasy truth. That's actually correct terminology. You know, this is the real terminology. If you translate the Buddha's teaching, you know, Buddha, this is the only way to teach. There's one is fantasy truth, the other one is the actual truth, ultimate truth. You know, so fantasy truth gets a lot of speculation, and then relative truth and conventional truth, and then you have words like scientific truth, mathematical truth, and so on. You see, a few days ago I was saying, Milarepa said that he didn't do anything unusual. What he was to his miracles that he was performing, you know. Oh, Milarepa, master all the elements, you know. And then what he was doing, he said, that's actually how things truly are. We're the one who living in a fantasy world thought, oh, he performed miracle. Right? Interesting. Buddha manifested, planet Earth, perfect Buddha, demonstrated perfection, taught, and then he said he never did. Interesting, huh? But the proof is, we all got touched by that, transformed. I'm telling you, it's our Buddha that we owe so much. Otherwise, you know, we're completely lost. Yeah. I tell people, Buddha activity, Buddha's teaching is infinite light in this dark universe. It's the real light that you can see correctly. You know, you really need light, wisdom light, to see things correctly, you know. There's a traditional example, you know, just by believing and so on alone, like blindly believing, blind faith or hope, and not gonna work. You really have to have real wisdom to overcome fear, insecurity about samsara, overcome, you know, primarily the fundamental ignorance once and for all. You need wisdom, you know. And the traditional example is snake and the rope. In the dark corner, there's not much light, dark corner, and then there's a coil of rope there, and then you go there and you think there's a snake, a rattlesnake coiled around a little. Oh, it's gonna, you know, bite me. So, you know, that's a traditional example. You can't tell it's snake or rope or snake, you know, and you get scared. And the story is, this is a good analogy, story, you need real wisdom. And the story is, and somebody who comes out and, goes into one kind of like a cave, a dark place, and then there's a snake there. And the guy outside says, no, you just think it's not snake, it's a rope. Just think it's not snake and it's rope. Meaning blind faith. Think you go there, but you're still scared. You can't, because you still don't know. It's like, and then comes out. So, no, you must believe it's not snake. But that you go in, it doesn't help. Scared, it still run out. And then the second time, it comes out and says, no, you should recite a prayer. Prayer. Just pray, and that it will not bite you. Prayer. You go in with prayer, and it's still, it's still, you can't see it's a rope. Still, you think it's still snake, you're scared. And then finally, you come out, and then you take a light. You go in, you finally see it's not snake. Your fear, insecurity, panic, all finally dissolve because it's light. You really can see clearly it's not snake. This is a traditional example. It's a very good example. Snake and the rope. You need wisdom. Wisdom eye. Third eye. Wisdom eye, yeah. The 5 eyes is something else. This we're talking about, seeing the truth, whole truth and nothing but the truth. Yeah. Where there's a will, there is a way. And it's based on virtuous moral and ethical training, cause condition wise, what works, what is virtuous, what is pleasant, what is peaceful, what brings happiness, and so on. And those are all the right cause condition, and you engage in that. And then you earn your spiritual point. And then you get better. And then at some point, then you will be able to, open your third eye. Today, these many of these people who talk about brain, different things, they call this third eye pineal gland. There's a little gland right in the center of your head, it says, And if that get activated, you will have spiritual experiences. Yeah. So interesting, huh? Yeah. When you're a little baby, its pineal gland is very pure. Child is very innocent, very open, even like past memories, all kinds of things. I think it's based on, pineal gland being very fresh, very open, and nicely activated at that time. And then later it gets clogged, and they call it gets calcified. That's the word they use. Something builds up, and then it gets clogged. And then they talk about, decalcification process need and so on. Interesting, many of these researchers find out that the breathing exercise helps force. And they can kind of see that mechanical stress that you put through breathing and then somehow goes to central channel, and it can activate pineal glands, Yeah, and that's actually Tummo heat yoga teaching, trainings are part of that, and so it kind of makes sense. But it's a little difficult, because you have to really breathe very hard, hold breath very hard, almost like you're going to, you're going to faint like that, almost like to that point to push that thing, like that. So it's kind of tough. Yeah. And it's not easy. And that's why not everybody can be successful, because it's very hard. And then the other problem with breathing thing is, if you do this deep breathing thing, it's danger too. It is danger. If you're not properly prepared, breathing can open up some other channels and things like that. And then it can cause you schizophrenia and paranoia and all kinds of problems like that too, if it's not properly trained. But if you train properly, do all like in our Naropa and Niguma 6 yoga meditation practice, then you have all these preliminary practices, prerequisite to the practice, right? If you do all the prerequisites correctly, then there's no danger. Otherwise, you play around. Yeah, it could open up spirit channels and things like that, and could cause problem for you all. Yeah, things like that. Yeah. Special frequency, brain waves hit, and then all of a sudden you're connected to the next universe. How about that? Yeah. Anyway, practice Dharma. You see, that's why step by step, with proper faith, devotion, refuge, bodhicitta, all, then you'll not go wrong. See, like that. Can I drink my tea? Yes. Okay, I'll leave it for a question. Anybody have a question?
I did, but I forgot.
Yes.
I think three wisdom is Mahamudra. What are the three wisdom?
What is the 3 wisdoms?
Huh?
What are the 3 wisdoms?
3 wisdom. Mahamudra prayer, right? Wisdom from listening, wisdom from contemplation, wisdom from meditation. Yeah, that's 3 wisdom. 3 wisdom intensify and develop, yeah. Listening, teaching, wisdom, and then contemplation, and then meditation. Wisdom that comes from those 3. Yeah, that's what that 3 wisdom means.
Oh. I remember. To understand ultimate reality, or to have the experience of ultimate reality, this fantasy reality, it has to be accepted as it is first. Is that correct? First, just things as they are, and then you can transcend it through that kind of acceptance that helps that. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can say that. That part of the process of Well, what is correct is that part of the process of understanding the absolute reality is understanding everything as it is. So that will include understanding the fantasy world as fantasials. You see? Yeah, like that. Correct understanding. Whatever it is, it is. That's the correct, you see? No exaggeration, no minimization. It's just what it is as it is. That's the correct understanding. Yeah, no add or no remove, just whatever it is. If it is fantasy, you see it as a fantasy, But if it is not fantasy, then you don't make it as fantasy. Then it's wrong, like that. That's the thing.
In the book, in the visualization chapter, it talks about the palace visualization and it mentions that as the Buddhist arrives, as Chenrezig arises and the Buddhas arise in the palace, that we are to sort of thank them and praise them. It's not mentioned in the text we read every day, but in the book it says we should thank them and praise them with mantras and mudras. And I was wondering if you have a recommended how to do that, maybe particular mantras and mudras.
Okay. So in the visualization for the palace, the mandala, in your book it says in parentheses that we should be doing. It's good to do offering a mantra to the Buddhas, the 5 Buddhas. How do you recommend that we do that while we're already chanting mantra? Is that correct?
Yeah. Are there particular mantras and particular mudras?
Are there particular mantras and mudras that you recommend for this? Or just regular offering?
No, during practice, just recite the mantra what it is and say, yeah. You don't need to recite separate mantra. Yet during this practice time, just you have to do it everything accordingly, completely. That's what you should do. You recite other mantra, then you do different practice. Then you do that complete practice according to that particular system, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm referring to your book, and I was wondering if there
saying it's in your book. It's in your book that even though it's not in the text, that you can do offering to those Buddhas.
In the palace, it's okay. I can come up with some.
I don't remember that part. Well, maybe I was saying, in front visualization, Chenrezig for Buddhas, and you hear self, Then, when you're doing prayers and so on, you can imagine offering and things like that. Yeah. I think probably if it is, then I'm probably saying something like that. Yeah. You don't need to make a specific effort. The main thing one should try to do during practice is according to practice, whatever the visualization, according to practice, what it is, do that, yeah.
Rinpoche, some days ago you said that Chenrezig is, with the 11 faces, is representing the traits of the one week. And so I was wondering, okay, so Amitabha is the 11th one, that makes sense because it's a complete part of perfect Buddha. But why is the 10th one wrathful deity? Why is it Mahakala?
You say that the 11 faces of Chenrezig represents the Bhumis. She understands why the 12th or the 11th one is Amitabha, but why is the 10th Bhumi a wrathful deity?
Below that?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why?
I'll ask Chenrezig. Chenrezig, why you show up like that? Well, you see, it's part of, Chenrezig represent complete enlightened activity. Yeah, wrathful is wrathful compassion. Yeah, that's what wrathful Mahakalas are. Real wrathful Mahakala is compassion turned into wrath, where peaceful energy alone is not working. So Chenrezig's energy much stronger, Can you believe Chenrezig's wrathful energy is so amazing? It's been said that Chenrezig so much enormous compassion, you see? And sentient being so messed up, so much thing, and his peaceful energy alone not working. And Chenrezig completely gets mad from compassion, and then turn into this powerful wrathful, in order to help everybody. Yeah, those who need spanking, not Chenrezig is going to spank us. You see? There really is a place for that. See? Yeah. Because sentient beings, always peaceful energy alone, not going to work. Sometimes you have to do dramatic thing to save sentient being. See? To save, to help sentient being. Like a little kid, say, innocent little kid walking on the cliff, and then mom is telling her, sweetheart, don't walk, you're going to fall. And the children doesn't listen. And no matter how many you tell, and you have to, out of your compassion, you have to grab, spank, and bring it over so that it's not going to fall down. That's the only thing that you see. This is a good analogy of wrathful compassion is needed. It's not working. Okay, you want to walk there? Okay. No, not going to work. You have to spank and say no. Like that, you see?
Rinpoche, I heard that Shariputra gave up the Bodhisattva vow. Shariputra in the Art Sutra. And the story goes that there was a being that asked for his arm, and he chopped off his arm and gave it to him. And then the being said, no, I want the other arm. And so he gave up the Bodhisattva vow because of the ridiculousness of sentient beings. Do you know if that's true or not? Have you read that story? I read it somewhere.
I think it cannot be Shariputra's story. Probably, I think there's somebody else's story. There was one Bodhisattva story, almost lost his bodhicitta. There was a temptation like that, Mara, some kind of temptation. See, this was great Bodhisattva, there's so much compassion, and ask for hands, and then chop his hand and gave with the left hand. And then the Mara who was asking for that, he said, how dare you give me with your left hand? Cut hand. And then this Bodhisattva was so disappointed. There's no way you can satisfy sentient being, and almost lost its, bodhicitta storyline. But didn't completely lose, because then something like Manjushri appeared and says, my son, you can't give up. And then he realized them. Then he was able to, courageously take his vow again, things like that. Usually, many bodhisattva has a story like this, because on and off, you'll be disappointed, you're willing to do so much. It's impossible to satisfy everybody. There's somebody, no matter how much you help, how much you sacrifice, how much you put up with, still, unreasonable like that, and then like that. Then it will push you to the limit. And then you almost kind of give up, But then once you break through, then you'll be able to, rise. You'll be able to be on another level again. Things like that. All bodhisattvas go through that. Yeah. All bodhisattvas go through. Yes?
Sorry, I have another question. Do you have any practices or readings recommend for someone who wishes to take the Bodhisattva vow in the future?
Do you have any recommendations for reading?
For the Bodhisattva reading?
Someone wants to take the vow.
Actual vow detail thing. I don't know where you can read that. But if you want to just draw inspiration for Bodhisattva, then you read Shantideva. Yeah. Shantideva doesn't talk all the details of our vows and so on, but, generally, Shantideva, so beautiful teaching on Bodhisattva principle. First chapter, for instance, is so beautifully written, so beautiful. Shantideva was this great Bodhisattva, you know. Yeah. When I was young, I memorized this Shantideva's thing. Deshi chuchi kunga seche tang, chawe kunga kubar chats, deshi sechi domla jupani, lungshin durduneni jobarcha. Munche majung payan dirjo me, debjur kepa andala yome, techri jendun samba andala me, rangi hila gonshingi ditsa. By the way, this is a teaching mudra. Teaching mudra. Yeah, I have a mudra like this. Then that means Buddha is teaching.
Is this the same mudra that Bharachan is doing?
No, this, No, not Bharachan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tsongkhapa?
Mm-hmm.
Tsongkhapa?
Yeah, I think Lama Tsongkhapa has a teaching mudra.
I would like to ask about the colors of the palace because I didn't find this in the book.
What?
The colors of the wall of the palace in the frontal visualization.
She wants to ask about the color of the walls of the palace.
Color?
Because it's not in the book, yeah.
Transparent. You should visualize like jewel glass. Transparent.
Transparent is one quality, but there are colors like red, blue,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I think, yeah, if you go to visualization, you could be a little bit creative in the palace part. You know, I see it like a crystal clear glass myself, you know. Yeah. Chenrezig standing on a lotus and 4 Buddhas. Perfectly there.
no colors. No colors.
No colors?
Like a crystal.
Yeah.
She's saying no colors?
Yeah. Well, you know mandala? Basically, you have to visualize 4-dimensional mandala. And then, each direction, I do see pillars, 4 pillar and 4 cardinal direction, made out of jewels and stuff like that. And then the front part is all like a glass. That's how I see it. Yeah. That's my fantasy. You can have your fantasy. Okay, I think that's good enough today, huh? All right.